Have you ever wondered where all those hard-won procurement savings just disappear? It's a super common problem, and the answer might not be what you think. It's not usually in the negotiation, but in everything that happens after the contract gets signed. And that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. The critical, and let's be honest, often overlooked world of contract management.
Right? This is the biggest myth out there. It's so easy to think the job is done once you get that signature. I mean, you've put in all the hard work, you've secured a fantastic deal. But in reality, that signature isn't the finish line. It's actually the starting gun for the race to protect the value you just fought so hard for.
And we're not talking about a small leak here. This is a big deal. Research shows that companies lose somewhere between 5 and 15% of their negotiated savings every single year. Why? Simply because of poor post-signature contract management. Just let that sink in for a second. That is a huge amount of money just being left on the table.
Okay, so if companies are losing this much money, where exactly is it all going? In this first section, let's pull back the curtain and really look at the hidden costs that are quietly draining the value right out of your contracts.
This visual really says it all. On one side, you've got the negotiated value. That's the awesome price you worked so hard to get. But then, look over here at the realized value, which your company actually ends up with. That space in between, that's the value gap. That's where all the savings just vanish, and it can have a massive impact on your bottom line.
So what are the main culprits behind this value leakage? Well, it usually comes down to 4 common areas where things go wrong. First, poor visibility. I mean, if you can't even find the contract, you can't manage it, right? Second, missed renewals, which can lock you into bad terms for another year. Ouch. Third, weak tracking of service level agreements, or SLAs. This means you might not be getting the service you're paying for. And finally, a simple lack of governance. When no one's in charge, things just fall through the cracks.
Okay, those are the common pitfalls. But what does this actually look like in the real world? Let's walk through a quick case study to see just how a really good deal can go bad fast when contract management is ignored.
So the story starts out great. We have a tech company, and their procurement team just knocks it out of the park. They negotiate an excellent price structure with a super important vendor. On paper, it is a huge win. High fives all around.
But here's the fatal flaw. Buried in that contract were penalties for the vendor if they failed to meet certain performance levels, those SLAs we talked about. But after the ink was dry, no one, and I mean no one, was assigned to actually track their performance or enforce those penalties. And the result? It was a slow-motion disaster. The service quality just plummeted. This led to frequent downtime and a long list of unresolved tech issues. The indirect costs from lost productivity, from customer frustration, they completely wiped out every single penny of savings they have negotiated. That good deal had turned into a very, very expensive problem. Now, the good news is they were able to turn things around. By putting in some structured governance, assigning an owner, using dashboards to track SLAs in real time, and actually planning for renewals, they finally stabilized the service and started getting the value they were paying for all along. The fix in that story really highlights a critical shift in mindset. It's about moving from that passive, file it and forget it approach to a truly proactive one. This right here is what separates the best-in-class procurement teams from everybody else. So let's take a closer look at what they do differently.
Okay, check out this side-by-side. On the left, you have the all-too-common sign and forget method. The contract gets filed away, maybe in a dusty cabinet or a forgotten folder, and that's it. But on the right, you have the proactive approach of top leaders. Active governance. This means every contract has a clear owner, performance is actively tracked, and renewals are managed with alerts. It's the difference between reacting to problems and being in total control.
And this proactive approach has a name: contract governance. Now, don't let the term scare you. It's not about adding a bunch of red tape. It's simply the active process of assigning ownership, tracking performance, and managing risk to make absolutely sure your contracts deliver on their promises. It's really about taking stewardship of the deal you made.
So, you're probably wondering, how can I start doing this in my organization? The great news is you don't need a massive team or a huge budget to get started. In our final section, we'll walk through some simple, practical steps you can take today to start protecting the value locked inside your contracts.
Here are 4 simple but incredibly powerful actions.
First, for every single significant contract, assign a specific owner. Someone needs to be responsible. Second, create a simple dashboard to track key performance metrics and SLAs. This doesn't have to be fancy, even a spreadsheet is a good start. Third, set up calendar alerts for renewals so you are never ever caught off guard. And finally, do an annual review to assess risk and performance. Honestly, these 4 steps alone will put you light years ahead of the curve.
So, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that contract management isn't just some boring administrative task. It is a critical part of creating and protecting value. So I'll leave you with a question to think about. How much value are your contracts leaking right now? And what's one thing you can do this week to start plugging those leaks?